I spend most of my time focusing on making videos. I'm constantly searching for tutorials on how to get the best out of my Sony FX30 and my Sony ZV-E10. Because I frequently search for specific information about my lenses, the YouTube algorithm decided to start pushing a lot of photography content into my feed. I guess looking up cameras that do both video and photos makes the algorithm think you want to take pictures too. Eventually I decided to put that extra information to some use. My main video setup relies heavily on these specific types of lenses. My current gear includes a Sony FX30 as my main video camera, the Sony ZV-E10 as a backup but mostly for photos, the Sigma 60mm f1.4 for wide shots, and the Sony 16-50mm kit lens when I need something really light. However, the Sigma 17-40mm f1.8 is what stays on my camera most of the time. It is just the perfect zoom range for what I do. I decided to pair it with the ZV-E10 for this specific photo experiment though. The idea for this shoot was a joke based entirely on the snobby feeling you often get from high-fashion black and white portraits. I appropriately titled the project SNOBS. The goal was to maintain a completely serious, moody look. The reality is that keeping a straight face for that long is incredibly difficult. As you can see, the serious act fell apart very quickly. We also ended up with a bunch of photos that completely broke character, which kind of adds to it in my opinion. Doing this shoot came with a few challenges. First, taking photos of yourself is just hard. You are constantly running back and forth, trying to get the focus and framing right without someone behind the camera to help. Second, lighting for black and white is completely different from lighting for normal video because you do not have color, you have to create depth entirely through contrast, shadows and highlights. You have to learn to see how the scene looks in black and white before you even press the button. Once the photos were taken, I had to edit them. This led to another big frustration. Adobe pushes the normal cloud-based version of Lightroom very heavily. But if you try to find good detailed tutorials on YouTube, they simply do not exist for that version. Most of the helpful videos out there are made specifically for Lightroom Classic. I eventually gave up trying to figure out how to do the classic steps in the standard Lightroom app. Since Lightroom Classic is included in the Adobe subscription anyway, I just downloaded it and forced myself to learn the older way it organizes files. It is a bit harder to learn at first, to be honest, but having access to all the tutorials makes it worth it. I'm really happy with how these photos turned out. It is obviously not a professional studio setup and trying to compete with real photographers will never be my goal. However, taking the time to learn the basics of taking photos, lighting for black and white, and figuring out Lightroom Classic is a great way to spend time. It helps me build new skills that directly improve what I actually do, which is making videos. If you make videos and have been ignoring the photo set of your camera, I highly recommend spending an afternoon or two trying out a project like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave them down in the comments, or alternatively, drop some camera related or potato emojis in the comments as per usual. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.